again for doing this for us. I've had the pleasure of talking to you guys a bunch about this. Consider myself a Terrifier expert at this point, I think. So before we get into all this chaos, I would really like to ask you both something that really zooms all the way out here. At what moment, whether it was on set or in the editing bay or alone in your head, did you realize that Terrifier wasn't just a film anymore, but it was a legacy that will live on in the world forever?
Wow, legacy. I don't know. The moment where I realized this was bigger than I thought it was when we tried to raise 50 grand for the Clown Cafe scene through Indiegogo for Terrifier 2. And we set the goal at 50 grand, and I didn't think we were even going to hit that. And then in less than 24 hours, the fans came through and we raised like 225,000. And that was just a big, yeah, really. That was a big eye-opening moment where I said, okay, this is bigger than I think it is. Yeah. And that kind of happens the whole way through all the movies. Every time we think this franchise sort of plateaus, it surprises us even more. I mean, that happened with Part 3 when all of a sudden we had the #1 movie in America, and this was for a weekend, and this is an unrated movie. I mean, never in a million years would I have thought that it was even possible for an unrated movie to be the #1 movie in America. I'm pretty sure that's never happened in history. So that was pretty wild, yeah.
What would you say doing things like this convention experiences that you guys have been doing a lot of, and your ability to really make a connection with the fans has done to evolve the franchise?
This franchise is all, my favorite word is just to say organic, because we never have any marketing budget to really promote these movies. It's all word of mouth by the fans, and it's truly the greatest pleasure I think we get is meeting you guys seriously, and especially when we hear how much these movies mean to you on really deep personal levels, and to hear these stories of how these movies actually help people. It moves us in ways that we never imagined, and we can't express how really wonderful it is and how we really cherish that and how honest and vulnerable you guys get with us. And it really means the world, and it makes us want to make just better movies for you guys. So thank you.
And David, can you talk a bit about what I guess the confidence of the fan appreciation of this character has unlocked in you personally?
I've become a lot more talkative, I guess. Yeah, because I've always been a very shy, quiet guy around people I don't know. So just being around the fans has really helped open me up a lot more. I guess I'm a lot more comfortable in my own skin now, thanks to you guys. So thank you for that. It's been art therapy.
He's comfortable wearing other people's skin too. Did you see Terrifier 1?
Yeah, that was an interesting moment. Oh boy, that was something. Actually, that's true though. That's true, because I was always very self-conscious about my body and stuff like that, because I was always very, very skinny growing up. I always got made fun of, and then he wants me to be naked, and I'm like, great, my first film, and they see my tush. Awesome. I'm sorry, everybody.
After the explosion of Terrifier 2, I'm sure it unlocked a lot of doors for you, Damien. Having meetings, different people pitching you things, other scripts and collaborators. What made you decide to stay the course and go straight into Terrifier 3 as your next project?
Yeah, it did. It was really cool. It did open doors. I did get to go to Hollywood pretty much and just go to all the studios and take meetings with executives and presidents of, I won't name, but I mean, really, I got to go to pretty much all of them. And a lot of them were interested in Terrifier and like more as a curiosity, like what is this? It's like, why is this so successful? And like if there was any kind of code we cracked, and they wanted to know if they could be a part of it. And there were times where I was very close to signing a deal for Terrifier 3 with a studio, but I would hear these little notes that kind of, freaked me out a little bit, for lack of a better word. Just like, we don't really want to call it Terrifier 3 because not enough people know about it, so why don't we just rebrand it and call it Terrifier again? And of course, it has to be rated R. You can't go unrated, so these big kill scenes, you're going to have to pull back a little bit. And then I said, look, we got to this point, you know, the first movie cost, at the end of the day, about 50 grand. The second movie cost about a little over 300,000, I think. So I was like, there's no reason to turn this into a $10 million, $20 million Hollywood movie. I might as well just keep doing it the way it's been made and just the way you guys have just appreciated at this point. So it was actually pretty simple. Pretty simple decision at the end of the day to just keep making it the way we've been making it.
With art joining the pantheon of horror icons, was it ever a discussion, or did any studio come to you and with a crossover or anything? You know, like art versus Michael Myers or something. Was that ever something that was thrown around, even as a joke?
Something interesting has been thrown my way, but I can't say what it is. But it is something cool with a really cool IP. And I've become friendly with the filmmaker, and who knows, something down the line, you know.
Nice.
Who knows what's going to happen in 20 years, right? Anything's possible.
Well, talking about the future, I mean, looking back at Terrifier 2, it felt like that was the moment art stopped being a slasher villain and became a mythological figure. At what point during the creation of art did you first realize he commanded a trajectory beyond just kills, that he had a purpose, not just a persona?
Well, even going back to the short films, especially the second short film, Terrifier, he was pretty much instantly supernatural. He was sort of teleporting around and didn't obey any, rules. But once I decided to bring art back from the dead at the end of Terrifier, and I said, all right, now he's supernatural, because ultimately almost all your classic villains, your slashers, become supernatural at some point. But the filmmakers sort of gloss over that element, and they don't really dive into it and explore it. It just sort of becomes the traditional trope of what the boogeyman is or does. Like, they just become supernatural. And you're not really supposed to ask too many questions or dive into, well, what is that evil entity that's either resurrecting them or driving them? So I really wanted to dive into that element more than anything and make the evil a character in and of itself. So that became exciting, and I knew that, at some point you really have to give this character a backstory. I'm sure you've all heard now that I'm going to reveal his backstory now in part 4. You are going to get that. I know a lot of people, or some people, are nervous, right? Because that could destroy the character if you do that. If you don't do that the right way. And I love the ambiguity of Art the Clown. I think that is so important to why he works. So I just want you to know that I believe that there is a way to sort of have your cake and eat it too when it comes to delivering his backstory that's not going to fuck up the other movies, all right? So just rest easy in that regard.
Do you have a conclusion in mind for Art, or is the fact that he doesn't have a conclusion what gives him so much power?
I don't want to say whether or not there's a conclusion for Art, but there is once I wrote Terrifier 2, I knew a definitive conclusion to this franchise, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I know, I knew exactly, to the shot, pretty much how this was going to end.
Wow, and it will be part 4.
Yeah, it'll be part 4.
Wow. All right, well, David, with your portrayal of Art, without spoiling anything that you may know or may not know, how have you evolved the way you perform him as the character's own lore and mythos has expanded, especially going into 3?
Well, I kind of looked at he constantly evolving himself. Because, starting with part 1, he was human, and he's resurrected at the end of that. So he's like, he's a lot more confident and cocky. So I was like, yeah, I came back from the dead. Take that, Jesus. He actually comes back twice. So hey, there you go. So I was like, yeah, okay, going in part 2, he's going to be a lot more cocky and arrogant. He's going to be a lot more reckless with what he's doing because he doesn't think he can be defeated. Then he comes up against this adversary that often can hurt him. And so that kind of sets him back on his heels a little bit, chops off his head. Spoiler. So it's like, okay, so part 3, when he comes back, okay, so he's got a vendetta now, and he actually knows that there's something out there that can hurt him too. So he's got a lot of unbridled rage built up, but he's also still wanting to have fun too. It's Christmas. You gotta have fun. So it's like, okay, well, how can we balance that? Having so much jolly fun with what he's doing, and then he gets down to business with Sienna at the end. And with that one, he really had someone really guide. I mean, we had a little bit in part 2 with the pale girl, but in part 3 we had Vicky there after pale girl had taken over her as a guiding force for him to like, okay, yeah, you're having for your fun, but now you got a mission, dude. You got to get rid of this girl and all these other people around her because they're a threat to us. But like once we get that all settled, then we can have more fun. So I was like, okay, so he's a man with a mission now. But then I love how it ends with part 3. That's like when he gave me the script for part 3, the one part I was like, whatever you do not change this ending. Because I loved how it ended with both Sienna and Art losing their powers and getting back to square one. And so that's really setting Art back in a whole way. So I'm excited to see where we can take Art going forward in part 4. Because now he's like, oh God, I don't have my powers now, but also he's got a real purpose now because he wants that back. And he also wants to get her finally. So I'm very excited to see where we can go forward with this.
Have you read what Damien's written for part 4?
No, and I love how he just kind of laughed there because he knows stuff that I don't know and it pisses me off.
That's the wild, dude. That's the wild. Yeah, I think it's
I might be way off on things. I have no idea.
The whole time he was speaking, it was just fart noises in my ear.
Yeah. Like, womp, 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 womp. I got it all planned out.
I think that darkness of what you're talking about mixed with like the emotional core of part 3 is what really makes that film unique and hit so hard and make the gore hit even harder in this one in some way. It just feels more visceral and you feel really connected to these characters. How did your growing awareness of, I guess, art's cultural resonance in the horror community affect your writing and performance choices in T3?
I mean, when you start to realize what these movies mean to people, and it's not foreign to me because I am a hardcore horror fan, and I've been coming to these conventions as a fan since I'm 12. I've been watching these movies since I'm 3, so I mean, they really have a big impact on your life. So when you see people with tattoos and dressing up as these characters and just giving you letters of how they've gotten them, like I said, gotten them through some really deep personal things, you take it very seriously, and I never want to phone these movies in. And I want these movies to have a shelf life. A lot of movies, they come out, they're celebrated, but then they quickly just disappear. And I want these to, if I could be so blessed to have them last, and have, younger generations be able to, celebrate them. So I not that I love, but I'm willing to take all sorts of criticisms, and I'll dive into the fucking lion's den, right? I'll go on YouTube, Letterboxd, anywhere, and I want to read what people are saying about the movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if there's sort of a resounding note, a negative critique, you might want to take that into consideration moving forward, all right? You can't just be like, well, fuck it, it's my imagination, and they'll take whatever I give. It's like, no, there's a relationship here, it's like I'm giving you something, but you're giving me something back, right? It's sort of a, it's a dance, two-way street. So I want you guys to appreciate what I'm doing and what I have to offer. So I take that very seriously, and you can really get some constructive criticism from listening to fans. Yeah.
And you talked about just having this a legacy that kind of goes on forever, is that generations will discover this film. What do you think is the thing that makes it, hey, Mr. Dan Lubeck, how's it going? Oh. Santa!
Hey, you're supposed to be dead!
Santa!
He didn't mean to interrupt.
What's up, buddy? Dan, how's it going, man? Very nice to meet you. There you go. Give it a second and it'll pop on.
There you go. Very nice to meet you and to my brothers of monsters. Hey, everybody. God bless. I'm sorry I'm late.
A question for you, actually. Now that he's here, let's give him something. I'll ask this to him. I was about to ask it to Damien, but as a horror fan yourself, okay?
Yes.
What do you think it is about the Terrifier franchise that gives it that longevity? It's going to be a film franchise that people will discover generation to generation. What makes it so different?
Well, I think that Damien was smart enough to keep a great actor silent because we remember the great silent actors for 100 years, and I think that's what you've done, and you've got the perfect actor to play it. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Yes?
That's a really good point.
And everybody tries to mimic, you know, the Freddy Krueger, you know, there's your lunchbox or whatever joke he would say, that they would come up with a joke and then they'd have to make a kill to match it. And keeping the clown silent and making it grand, how do you say that? Grand Gouguignon?
Grand Guignol, right?
Grand Gouguignon? David, if we go out to dinner, we should order the Grand Gouguignon.
I would love to see what they bring you.
Well, they bring you a plate of red spaghetti. But because he's such a smart guy, and these movies are made with love, that's the other thing. I'm almost done talking. You know, New Line and Universal and all the people putting out those huge movies, they're made by committee. Right there's the committee. That's why the movies are great.
Thank you, dude. Well said, man. Given the increased budget that you had to work with on this one, how did it change your approach?
It was, you know, it's interesting because in some ways it really made my life easier, and in other ways it made it a lot harder. Actually, Terrifier 3 was the most stressful movie out of the trilogy because we had the most money. You know, we had great crew members and great actors on this one, but we really had to, like, you're locked into a schedule, and once that train leaves the station, like, you gotta go and you can't stop. And also, you have a lot more eyes looking over your shoulder and people on set watching every move you make, which is very nerve-wracking. It's not the most pleasant way to make a film. But on the flip side, it was the first time I was able to hire a professional makeup team to come in who could execute the effects on a level that was even better than what I could do on Terrifier 1 and 2, because it's very difficult to direct a film and do the makeup effects. It almost never happens on this scale. You know, and it also, that's one of the reasons why Terrifier 2 literally took years to make, because me and my producer Phil, who really did almost all of the special effects ourselves, which is really wild. And we were just shooting like 18-hour days, 6 days a week sometimes, and you can't do that with unions and stuff, right? There's a lot of regulations. So, you know, I was able to focus more with the other departments and really focus on the production design and work with my actors more and the lighting. So it was a lot better that way with part 3. So.
And David, you've always had this very tight dance between your physicality and the practical effects, and a real relationship that you kind of cultivated with Damien here on that. Did working with the new team change your experience or change how you synchronize your performance with the gore in any way?
Not too much, because Damien was still there a lot. You know, he was, you know, when we did the first 2 films, he was doing my makeup, so we had a lot of conversation time in the chair together to go over the day and whatever, you know, we were planning on doing. So, but I still had a lot of those moments still with him and stuff like that. So it didn't really change too much. I think it kind of freed him up in a lot of ways, just to really focus on actually filming, so he wasn't having to stress out over the makeup as much as he had in the past. But he still can't help it, though. He's still got to come over and say, no.
Of course.
Let's do this.
Got his fingerprints in there.
Yeah, but
I got the fake blood every...
Yeah.
But I would say part 3 was probably the most pleasant for you because of the regulations, and we didn't make him film for 20 hours.
Yeah.
He could, you know, 12 hours and that's it, he's gone, or he's getting overtime now, you know, it's a different ball game.
Yeah,
so
definitely, because it would have been a nightmare if you were just doing the makeup yourself, because it wasn't just my makeup they were doing. They had to do so much more on Samantha that played Vicky in this than I had. I mean, mine was taking maybe about an hour and a half to put on. Hers took about 8 hours to put on every single day. So that would have been a nightmare logistically for him to have to do. It was just like, no. So I was very grateful we actually had a competent makeup team from Tinsley helping out with us. It really helped ease a lot of the stress and helped things flow a lot better.
And Dan, you've been on a million movie sets of all shapes and sizes. What did you notice different about how Damien ran a set?
Well, oh, well, he's a nice person. So there's that. We laugh in the morning, we laugh while we're shooting it, we laugh when we're done shooting it. You don't always get that. It's not that other people are asses, but it's, you know, I got to know Damien with the Levy brothers on stream, and I just felt you can't not fall in love with the guy. If a man can love a man, I think they can. I love Damien.
I love you back.
Thank you. And so, I mean, look, you got him. Phil, by the way, if you get too serious, believe me, Falcone will bring you back to a reality. If you say, Phil, I need 2 more minutes in the makeup chair, get the fuck out of there when you're done. You know how much that makeup costs? Get the fuck out of there. So, you know, hopefully this isn't being live streamed. Because he might be in the mob, I'm not sure. I don't know where the money comes from. But we, you know, we're friends making a movie, and that's different than anything. And I wish that you guys could all come and see what it's really like. Because you'd be like, hey, take this a little more seriously. Because we take it seriously. And we'd be like, yeah, no, we're taking it seriously. When we're shooting it serious. It's like a game of Frogger, sir. I've seen you move up, and very good. You made it closer. Hopefully you weren't trying to do it without being noticed. I'm sorry that I mentioned it.
I gotta say though, out of no joke, I think David would agree. Out of the 3 movies, the hardest we ever laughed on set was filming the bar scene in Terrifier 3. I mean, that was the most fun I ever had, and there were just so many moments where I just wasn't even directing anymore. I was just watching them just riff at the monitor and just pissing my pants. It was just so good.
I was pissing my pants too.
Yeah. Not many. I think we had two heads, maybe like.
Yeah, you had 2 heads and 2 hands and 2 legs, I think.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow. And like,
Yeah, and if the 2 heads don't work, they're like, Dan, we're going to try one other thing. Phil goes, sit down, I'm going to hit you in the face with a hammer.
Final night. It's fine.
now, for all your kills, David, there's so much personality in it, and it feels like a lot of that personality comes from what you're just doing improvisational-wise, and what you're doing with where you have to end up that goal, and your personal flair of how you portray art. Is there a conversation that happens between you and whoever you're killing, in this case, Dan, before you film a scene like that?
Sometimes things just happen in the moment too, and we're like, oh, that's cool, we'll keep it in. But like with us in that scene, he was doing so much great improv with the dialogue there. It was just he was just throwing so much comic gold to me. I'm like, oh my God, you give me so much to work with. I'm loving it. Like the whole thing about family, and I'm like, oh, I love this. So there was a lot of playing around going on that night. It was just great. I loved it. I just absolutely loved it.
I thought that was his best performance facially in the movie. That scene and in the mall with the children, I remember going up to him and just being like, dude, this is like, you're in the zone right now. This is magic. I'm seeing it here. Sometimes you just really feel it. And as the most expressive and animated he's been. Sometimes it sucks because he does so many good things, and that you have to choose. It just comes down to like your subjective taste when you're in the editing room. It's like, do I like that expression better or that expression? And it's like Sophie's choice. You got to leave one on the cutting room floor, and you hope you made the right decision. So, but yeah, I mean, art's the most expressive in part 3, I think, for sure. I think the most nuances come through in the makeup.
What was for you going toe to toe against David in that scene, and improving against an actor who's not saying anything, but just with his facial muscles and the things he was doing? How did that empower your improv?
Well, we also had Clint Howard.
Yeah.
I've got a kidney. I'll fuck yeah. Like Clint, no matter what we did, there was then this other person who was like, I will insert myself into the scene. and he was so perfect. So I've seen the movies and have known David around the conventions. Working with him under Damien's direction was great. And it was like, remember we worked out like, you know, the slow burn toward each other, the piss on the, like the realization that it's like you're peeing. And it couldn't just be like you're peeing, it had to be like, you wouldn't be peeing on me, would you? Can I tell just a silly thing? I have a friend, you guys, I may have told some of you this at the table, who's a cop. And the cop, my best friend John Lamont, who was on the set, remember the last night, he didn't see the scene in the bar until the killing. And he said, hey Dan, when you're doing a movie like that, and they make it look like he's spitting on your face, he goes, now how do they do that? And I said, he spit in my face. And Lamont was like, oh God. And we did a few good spits, a few good.
I love the one take that we did where I was going to do the spit, and you're in the middle of your dialogue, and this time you don't have to spit in my face, Cloudy, and blah blah blah. And he just kept going. I'm like, I almost spit there because I was laughing. I was like,
they gave us 3 days to shoot that sequence, which in Terrifier 2 would have been 3 hours. Dan, we got to get you in, we got to get you out, we got to do the kill. So, and Christian Tinsley and his crew, I mean, great contributions. But all in all, that we get to sit here and talk about this, trust me, you guys have followed the right horse. You've gambled on the right horse. This man and that man, they're never going to let you down. I will be playing my brother in the next film. I haven't figured out how. I know what you're all going to write, you know, more Santa. I don't know. Maybe he's in hell. I don't know.
We've opened the doors to the supernatural.
Who knows? Anything can happen.
I always joke, there's no actor, David knows this, no actor in the Screen Actors Guild who couldn't, like, convincingly convince someone that he could play his own brother. My brother looks just like me. I'll shave the mustache. I'll dye my hair. I'll wear a girdle. I'll talk like this because he's from South America. Whatever. I don't know why they would talk like that in South America.
So, I mean, the opening scene of a Terrifier film is everything, right? It's the tone setter, it's the promise to the audience of what they're about to see. How much time and how important was getting that opening scene just right?
Super important. That was a big fight I had with Phil one day.
Really?
Yeah, on set, like telling him we absolutely need 2 more days to shoot this scene to do all the effects properly, because they take forever. As you know, 99% of the stuff we do is practical, which means you build it physically. It's all rubber, it's all props and blood pumps. And it could take 2 hours, 3 hours just to chop off an arm. And if that goes wrong, you have to reset the arm, and that could take another hour and a half. And before you know it, your day's over. And like these scenes consist of sometimes 8 gags. So you can't just cram these into, you know, one day and shoot the scene as well. So, but I knew setting the tone for this one, especially, I knew this was going to be Christmas. There was already rumors just based on the teaser that, oh my God, they're going to kill kids now in this movie, and there was all kinds of controversy. Are they really going to kill kids? Are they going to kill kids the way we killed Allie in the bedroom scene in Terrifier 2? And I didn't want to do that. Of course we were going to kill kids. Right? I didn't mind doing that.
it was a blast.
Because it's genuine to Art's character. There's no way, right? When I'm writing and I, you know, get to a scene like that, and I have a moral, the morals kick in, and I'll say, you know, should I do this? Would he do this? Is this too far? And then Art will say, you pussy, this is exactly what I would do. You know I would do this, fucking writer. I mean, that's what happens. And, you know, this is a child's holiday. He's going to take total advantage of that. So I really wanted to set the tone. But that being said, I thought that there was a way to kind of subvert expectations where we're known for being excessive and showing everything. And I wanted to say, could we kill a kid now, but you don't see anything, and you just hear it, and could that be as effective as if we did show everything? And that's one of my favorite moments in the movie, is just hearing the kid get murdered and not seeing anything. So that was important to set that up. show that we're not afraid to kill kids, but not go too far over the line, but then deliver what you expect and want to see when he starts killing the parents. So it's kind of another way of having your cake and eating it too. And just big shout out to Christy Fox, who plays the mother in the beginning of that. She really sets the tone for what's to come in that movie.
And you know, Phil had, if he goes, I need 2 more days, Phil goes, look, Damien, I'll get you some dead bodies. I don't want you to ask me where they come from. We can just chop up these dead bodies. Don't ask me where they come from. They come from somewhere. Doesn't matter. We'll just chop up real dead bodies. Nobody's going to know.
Fell off a truck.
Yeah, they fell off a truck.
How dare you.
I got a friend.
All right, we're getting the wrap notice because they're going to go back to their booth and finish signing. So if you got a Post-it with a number on it, that's where you're going to go right after this. One more question before you go. I know there's a million more I'd love to ask, but art is becoming fully integrated with the Halloween season. It's been growing and growing. It's an incredible feat to create something that is doing that. Anything that we have to look forward to as we get to the fall, as we get to spooky season this year with art and the Terrifier franchise?
Oh my God, so many things that I am not at liberty to discuss.
Fair enough.
My God, is there anything I can say? I mean, there's toys that are coming out that we haven't even announced. There's video game things that we haven't even announced. There's something really cool that we haven't announced. I can't talk about. But there's so much stuff. Like, I can't even keep up with half the things that are coming. So you're going to be swimming in Terrifier worlds for the next few months.
Oh yeah, I
Can I
got
say
it.
one more thing?
Yes.
By the way, I'm going to beat you to all those dolls. I'll be buying them for my own collection. I just want to, it's important that we do a commercial. So they've moved, I'm not with my friends. I'm down the hall to the left. Like as your way to Starbucks, that's where I am. But David and I are putting on the Santa costumes tomorrow. And I know you guys have sold out your thing, but there's still availability for the Terrifier Santa photo op. It'd be a great Christmas card. No one's gonna know where you got it. That's my commercial. God bless you all.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
David, Damien, thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys all so very much. Thank you.
Everybody.